Starting with the attacking side, you should have the upper hand in most situations, so here is what you have to do to not mess it up when you finally found yourself a big, juicy target. So, first of all, why brawl in the first place? Well, getting up close and personal this time is all about exploiting the lack of turret on your enemy, basically punishing them without putting yourself in the line of fire. Whenever you have the opportunity to jump on one of these steel behemoths, unless they have some backup, just go ahead and do it. Next up, we have to decide the angle of our approach. Your enemy's biggest weakness is their limited gun arc and lack of turret, so optimally you would approach them from any angle but head-on. Now of course there will be cases where going at them frontally is the only option, and taking out a priority target could still be worth taking a huge shot in the face, well, if you can take it, that is. Be as it may, at least approach in a zigzag pattern to try and give yourself a chance, or just simply wait until the tank destroyer did fire at someone else. Next, it's the big question. Where do you actually stop? You don't want to fully circle it as, well, that would just bring you back in front of its gun, so you have basically two options: the sides or the rear. I personally would suggest the rear all day, every day. Tracking shots can sometimes fail due to RNG, and a decent tank destroyer driver will reverse into a solid object or wall to force you back in front of its gun. However, sticking yourself to its ass sideways on will prevent this from happening, and now you got yourself a nice XP and damage piñata. The only cases when taking the side is better in my opinion is if the rear is unavailable because, well, it's already too close to a wall or object, or when the tank destroyer has some mid-range backup and you just have to use its hull to shield yourself from the incoming fire. In these cases, do not shoot at the side of the superstructure, which is often well angled anyway. This can be often a costly mistake, as a good tank destroyer driver can get you off its side using any indestructible object, and then you are in a world of trouble. Go for the tracking shot instead, shooting the drive wheels over and over again, basically pinning him in place. Make sure you have a good enough rate of fire though, so you can also double track him even if they use their repair kit. Now if you are in a heavier tank, you can compensate your rate of fire by driving into their tracks over and over again between shots, effectively resetting the track repair timer. Now let's have a look at the same scenario from the tank destroyer's perspective. First as first, the best thing you can do is to avoid putting yourself in a position where it will be easy for the enemy to jump on you. A lot of the non-turreted tank destroyers will be heavily armored from the front, but generally slow vehicles with a badish hull traverse, so driving out in the open is mostly a no-go. When setting up an ambush, make sure that there are some solid objects next to you, or even better, behind you. If you have your back up the wall, your chances of defending yourself did just significantly increase. You couldn't run away anyway. By the way, the border of the map, aka the famous red line, acts as a solid wall in this case, blocking enemies from getting behind you, so don't forget to use it to your advantage. When the shit hits the fan though, here is what you can do to save yourself. Step 1. If you were not backed into anything solid until now, do it as quickly as possible as your top priority. That's even more important than shooting the incoming enemy, unless you have a good chance of killing them in a single shot of course. If you try to outturn your opponent